The sirens were already screaming when she yelled, "Put your hands on the car now!" My teen froze, backpack half open, phone in hand. Two men in dark uniforms rushed him like he was dangerous. I stepped forward and said, "This is my driveway." Karen pointed at my house and snapped, "HOA rules." "He's trespassing." One of the men grabbed my kid's arm anyway. My son looked at me, scared but quiet, and whispered, "Dad." I didn't do anything. Karen smiled like she'd won something. She waved a paper and said, "Authority says so. I saw the badge on the man's chest." It looked real from far away, wrong up close. I kept my voice calm even as my heart burned. "Who called you?" I asked. Karen leaned in and said, "I did. And you're next." The man pushed my son toward the curb, cuffs clicking. Neighbors came out, phones up, some shaking their heads, some cheering her on. Karen raised her voice loud on purpose. "Teach them a lesson," she said. I took one slow breath, reached into my pocket, and pressed record. Across the street, my wife's car turned in, tires crunching. She saw the cuffs. She saw Karen. She didn't say a word, just picked up her phone and made one call. And that's when the fake cop said something that made everything change. He said, "If you don't back up, we'll take him in right now." My wife stepped out of the car slowly. She looked at my son, then at the cuffs, then at Karen. "Who are you people?" she asked. Karen jumped in fast like she was waiting for this moment. "HOA security working with police," she said. "This boy violated community rules." My wife nodded once, calm. She walked closer and looked straight at the man's badge. "What department?" she asked. He paused for half a second too long. Karen cut in again. "Don't question them. They're allowed." My wife smiled, small and tight. She pulled out her wallet and showed nothing yet. "Interesting," she said, "because I know every department in this county." One of the men shifted his feet. The other tightened the grip on my son. Karen crossed her arms and said loud enough for everyone, "Arrest the parents too if they interfere." Phones went higher. Someone whispered, "This feels wrong." My wife finally spoke again, slow and clear. "You are detaining a minor on private property, without cause." The man laughed, nervous. "Lady, step back." She leaned in and said quietly, "You might want to let him go. Right now." Karen rolled her eyes. "She thinks she's special." My wife looked at Karen and said one line that made my stomach drop and my heart lift at the same time. "I'm the district attorney for this county." And just then, real police lights flashed at the end of the street. The fake cops went stiff when they saw the lights. Karen's smile faded just a little. "Good," she said fast. "Now it's official." Two real patrol cars rolled in and stopped hard. Doors opened. A real officer looked at the scene and said, "Why is a kid in cuffs?" Karen rushed over before anyone else could talk. "HOA violation," she said. "These officers were helping us." My wife stayed back, watching. One real cop bent down and checked the cuffs. "Who put these on him?" The fake cop said, "We did. Under authority." The real cop frowned. "Show me your ID." The man handed it over with shaking hands. Karen started talking again, loud and messy. "They refuse to follow rules. They think they own the place." I stepped forward and said, "We do own it." The real cop scanned the badge and his face changed. "This badge number doesn't exist." The street went quiet. Karen laughed nervously. "That's not possible." My wife finally stepped in and showed her ID. "It is possible," she said. "And it's a felony." One of the fake cops tried to pull away. The other dropped my son's arm and stepped back. The real officer uncuffed my kid and moved him behind me. Karen's voice cracked. "Wait! This is just HOA enforcement." The real cop looked at her and said, "HOA doesn't arrest teens." Then another cruiser arrived. And another. Karen's hands started shaking as an officer asked her one simple question. "How well do you know these men?" Karen opened her mouth, then closed it. I hired them," she said. "Everyone does." One officer raised an eyebrow. "Hired them to do what?" She snapped back. "Enforce rules!" My wife stepped closer. "You paid men to pretend to be cops and arrest a child?" Karen's face went red. "He was breaking HOA rules." The officer asked, "Which rule?" Karen waved her paper again. "This one." He took it, looked once, then twice. "This notice is fake," a neighbor gasped. Another whispered, "I knew it." One of the fake cops tried to slip away behind a truck. "Stop," an officer said. He ran. He didn't get far. The other man dropped to the curb, hands up, saying nothing. Karen started crying loud, like that would fix it. "They tricked me," she said. My wife shook her head. "You paid them. We have the transfer. And the video." Karen spun toward me. "Delete that!" I didn't answer. The officer read Karen her rights. She screamed, "This is my neighborhood!" My son held my arm tight. The officer looked at her and said, "Not today." As Karen was led to a cruiser, she shouted one last thing that stunned everyone on the street. "I'll take your house next." The officer stopped and turned back to her. "Say that again?" Karen went quiet. My wife stepped forward. "That threat matters," she said. An officer asked me, "Sir, do you have proof of ownership?" I nodded and pulled it up on my phone. Deed, tax records, everything. The officer looked at it and said, "This land isn't under any HOA control." Murmurs spread fast. Karen's knees almost gave out. "That's impossible," she whispered. My wife spoke again, calm but sharp. "This property opted out 10 years ago. She knows that." A neighbor shouted, "She tried the same thing with us." Another voice joined, then another. The street turned on her in seconds. An officer asked Karen, "Have you done this before?" She didn't answer. One of the fake cops started talking fast, pointing at her. She planned it. "She told us to scare them," Karen screamed. "Liar!" My wife held up her phone. "You texted him instructions." Silence hit hard. The officer sighed. "Ma'am, this just got worse." Karen looked at my son and spat. "You ruined everything." My son didn't cry. He just said, "I was walking home." That line broke something in the crowd. The officer closed the car, door on Karen, and said a line people would repeat for a long time. "This is what happens when fake power meets real law." Karen was gone, but the street was still buzzing. One officer stayed back and talked to my son. "You okay, kid?" He nodded, trying to act tough. His hands were still shaking. The officer looked at me and said, "We'll need full statements." My wife nodded. "You'll get them." Just then, another patrol car pulled up, slower this time. A man in a suit stepped out. People whispered again. The officer straightened up. "Sir?" The man looked at Karen's empty spot, then at the fake cops on the curb. "I got a call about impersonation," he said. My wife replied. "And attempted unlawful arrest of a minor." The man's jaw tightened. He turned to the fake cops. "You're done." One of them dropped his head. The other started begging. A neighbor walked over and said, "She's been doing this for years." More phones came out. The man in the suit looked at my wife. "You want to move forward?" She didn't hesitate. "All the way." He nodded once. Then he said something that made everyone look at Karen's house. "We're getting a warrant." I felt my son squeeze my hand. He whispered, "Dad, is it really over?" I looked at the flashing lights, the cameras, the quiet faces. "For us," I said. "Yeah." Across the street, Karen's porch light flicked on by itself, like the house knew what was coming next. The next morning, the street felt different. Quiet, but heavy. Karen's house was taped off, door wide open. Boxes were carried out one by one. Neighbors stood watching, no one smiling. A county truck took down the HOA sign at the entrance, just lifted it and drove away. An officer walked up to us and said, "Charges are filed. All of them." My wife thanked him and turned. Back to our son. "You did nothing wrong," she said. He nodded, finally breathing normal. A man from the city showed up with papers and said, "This HOA is suspended." Someone clapped. Then another. Karen's husband never showed his face. Later that day, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Please tell them to stop." I showed it to my wife. She deleted it. "Too late," she said. That evening, we sat on our porch watching the sun drop. My son asked, "Why did she hate us so much?" I didn't answer. My wife did. Because she thought power was loud. She looked at our house, calm and still. "Real power doesn't scream." Across the street, Karen's house went dark for the first time in years, and the whole block felt free. Weeks later, the case went public. News vans lined the street where my son once stood in cuffs. Reporters asked Karen's name, her role, her power. The answer was simple. She had none. The fake cops took plea deals. Karen didn't. In court, she wouldn't look at us. The judge did. "You abused authority you never had," he said. When the gavel hit, my son squeezed my hand again, this time not from fear. Outside, someone asked me how it felt. I said one line and walked away. I didn't raise my kid to fear bullies in uniforms. That night, we parked in our driveway, lights off, door open. No signs, no rules taped up, just home. My wife put her arm around our son and said, "This is what the law is for." And as the camera crews packed up, one thing was clear to everyone watching. She judged the wrong family on the wrong land, in the wrong country. In the end, everything went quiet. Karen lost her fake power, the HOA was gone, and my teen was safe. Our house stayed ours, just like the law said. One lesson was clear. When fake authority meets real law always wins.